All right. So my name is Hannah. I'm an operations and program manager here at the Boca Raton Airport Authority. On behalf of the airport, I'd like to thank you for coming out and joining us today for this really exciting pilot meeting, our second one this year. So we're going strong. So the topic of this meeting is, of course, TFRs. With the TFR season right around the corner, we figured it would be relevant and interesting to refresh your memory on, what to do during a TFR. We also have some special guests here from Runway Safe who will be talking about EMAS systems and how they work, how to use them, and we'll be talking a little bit about our recent EMAS excursion, which will be a little interesting. So with that, we'll have a speaker, and then following the speaker, we're going to have a little Q&A session, and then at the very end of the meeting, we'll have a final Q&A session. So, if you think of any questions along the way, you just save them for the end, and you're welcome to ask. So with that, I'll go ahead and we'll get started with our guest from Runway Safe.
What?
All right, I guess we'll just stand here. Yeah, good morning. My name is Hanzo. I'm the head of engineering from Runway Safe. We have Trip Thomas, he's head of sales and marketing. It's really a great pleasure to be here to talk to this special group of people. Every time I think about, sitting in an airplane, it's amazing. You guys can put the airplane into the air. That's, then take it down, safely. Then, we can go home. It's amazing. Yeah, nice job. Thank you. Thank you for everything you guys are doing. Part of the reason is Hannah said, because the recent overruns, we had 3 in 1 month. That never happened. So very proud of that. In a lot of these overrun, just very happy to talk a little bit about how EMAS works, the development, things that we need to pay attention to when we design the EMAS. I guess I want to start with a very short video of if it works. Someone can help out. Yeah, click on it again. Yep. So 20 seconds video. This overrun happened here at Boca Raton like 3 weeks ago. The challenge is 300. It went straight into the EMAS. It's as Trip said, he used the word textbook engagement. So don't try to veer off the left or right, just go straight in. I see from the video, in the rush hour, in a lot of cars running on the street. If there's no EMAS, the result could be bad. So very proud of this successful arrestment. On the same day, we had a overrun at Chicago Executive Airport. So 2 on the same day. As a bonus, next. So this is the 3rd overrun, just happened last week. Roanoke, 53 people on board. Apparently it was landed very, very long. And this you can see actually went pretty far into the EMAS, 2/3 of the EMAS. It's very long EMAS bed actually. Everybody was safe and really no damage to the airplane. Everybody was happy. It's a special feature. It's not something we installed, by the way.
I just noticed it, I'm sorry.
It was designed perfectly. Because this bed actually compared to what we have here at Boca Raton, this bed has a heavier density in high strength. So for this airplane, you can see probably the nose wheel didn't really penetrate into the system. That's exactly what we designed for. All right, so EMAS. I'm gonna give you a quiz, what EMAS stands for at the end. Yeah. Engineered Materials Arresting System. So it's basically a rest bed made of low density, low strength material, which will crush under the weight of the aircraft when the airplane goes into it. It is a passive system. It sits there doing nothing for the majority of the time. Oftentimes you don't want to use it. It's a safety system. in case of emergency situation, just as I said, go straight in. So compared to conventional RSA, the runway safety area, so EMAS definitely has a more predictable performance. Because the rain, the storm, the wintertime, you never know what's gonna happen when you get into a grass field. So when would you expect EMAS? So the FAA actually implemented 1,000 feet long RSA program. A lot of airports, because they built in the old days, they don't have enough RSA with the space. Especially for locations like this, the space confined by either the terrain, if this works. The TV, I don't think it works. So the top, that's anybody know which airport that is? Charleston, West Virginia. It's a quite big drop. We actually had a successful overrun there too, with I forgot how many people, 34 people on board of that US Airways in the old days. This one, that's a Kodiak, Alaska. That's surrounded by a water body. That's one I just, from the satellite picture, Newark, New Jersey, surrounded by the highway. It's just so close to the road. If something happened, it could be pretty bad.
Wow.
Yeah. How does EMAS work? It's very simple in principle. The aircraft wheel runs from left to right. And basically, because the weight on the wheel, it's just push the material down. Does it create enough a drag load to pull that airplane backwards? So like you're riding a bicycle in a sand pit, that's how you feel. Of course, it's a little bit more than that when we design the system. You compare the left and right, actually, the system actually works pretty well. I do have a short video. I'm going to show you. It's actually the first time I showed a video to anyone outside the company. So predict, we can replicate exactly what happened during the test. That's how we can model or design the system so effectively. Then in terms of EMAS design considerations, we design EMAS based on the FAA advisory circular. We always start off with the goal to design a 70-knot system, which is the speed when the airplane exits the end runway. From the FAA 70-knot system, we call that a standard EMAS because it's equivalent to a 1,000 feet RSA in terms of level of safety. Oftentimes, we don't have enough space, so we design a system between 40 knots and 70 knots. I think at Boca Raton, those two systems, they're about 50 to 70 knots, depending on the type of aircraft. That's pretty high protection in terms of the speed. So 50, 60, 70 knots. So every EMAS is custom designed. So we consider the free mix, also have RSA dimensions, slopes, everything, take into consideration. Then we come up with the best profile. We change the depth of the system. We change the slopes, how fast the slopes up. We change the strength of the material to give the best performance. That's how we do the designs. Obviously, we're trying to prevent any injuries to passengers. That's always our top priority. And also trying to design the system to minimize any potential damage to the aircraft. It's like the three overruns we had this, in this month, the damage to the airplane has been minimal. I think I'm gonna pass this on to Trip from this part.
Thank you.
Just real quick run through some more basics about the EMAS. Right now, we have just a little over 130 systems installed worldwide. Vast majority of the systems are actually installed here in the United States. It's probably 80 some, almost 90 are in the United States. But what's happened is the international market has obviously started to open up and continues to open up for us moving forward. We stuck 2 beds in most recently in New Zealand. We have 2 more going into New Zealand, believe it or not. As you can imagine, with the events over in South Korea months ago, we're doing a lot of talking to them as they're going and doing a reassessment of all their RSAs and their nav aids inside of their RSAs. As Hong said, the FAA has a RSA is supposed to be 1,000 feet long. ICAO has a recommendation of 305 meters, which is essentially 1,000 feet. They have a required 240. So the rest of the world is looking at it a little differently, but usually they defer to the FAA standards, as they do quite often for airfield design and so forth. But the amount of systems we have, it's still pretty small, but it's a growing number. In the States, it's a lot of GA airports like this where they see a lot of heavy jet traffic. We really have kind of taken care of all the big hubs that had any issues early on. JFK, SFO. Somebody said Midway has 4 of our systems. They actually have our second system. What you've been seeing a lot of pictures of from Hong here is what we call our EMAS Max system. And that is, again, what is predominantly in the United States. But at Midway, they have 4 of our sister systems, which we call Green EMAS. Has the same the same outcome, obviously, as the rest aircraft, but some of the theories and the core material it uses to stop the aircraft is different. But same idea. And there are, I think, a total of 14 of those installed outside the United States, where Max, I think we have 25. Yeah, maybe, not right around the same number at this point. It's growing, but Green was installed much more internationally to date. Oh, sorry. So this is just sort of a before and after to give it, again, help implore the value of the EMAS. This is out of Burbank. A bunch of years ago, they had a overrun, and it went across before they had their EMAS. It went across the highway and into a gas station, and that's where the aircraft came to rest. And then this was it 2018? They had another overrun. Guy was bad weather, heavy rain, tailwind, all your worst case scenarios. He landed long. As you can see, up into the bed, went in pretty nicely when you consider us a 737. It's the whole plane is inside of the bed. But everybody was able to get off and no injuries. And as far as we understand, the plane was up flying again for him. Real quick, one thing interesting about Burbank is what we'll say a normal EMAS is usually right around the same width as your runway is. But if you know anything about Burbank, the terminal is here, and there's just a ton of aircraft parked right close to here. And then there's the taxiway. They go around to the left when they land. They just felt, so they installed essentially a second bed butted up against this one. And as you can see, what we've seen, as Hong showed with the Roanoke, he wasn't going straight. He had a little bit of a turn to him as he was going through the bed. I personally, my anecdotal thought is, a human being is always looking for a hypotenuse of what's the longest line with nothing in it. So he's just trying to get a little longer. But as you can see, if they hadn't have put that extra wide EMAS in, he wouldn't have actually engaged the EMAS. So, kudos to Burbank on that. But again, a very successful arrestment in some bad weather. These are just some other arrestments we have. Believe it or not, the top 2 are the same bed at JFK. This goes back to what Hong was explaining, where we take a look at the complete fleet mix, say heavy to lighter aircraft that are using the runway. The FAA, the advisory circular says you have to have 500 or more operations to be included in the fleet mix. So this was back in 2001, Stop the Saab. And there was only one injury. The person getting out of the airplane twisted their ankle. But it was a good arrestment. Well, you had prop strikes too, so that probably got a little pricey. But then the 7-4, I think that was in 2004, 2005. Cargo aircraft landed long in a snowstorm. He started to make a turn because there's water right here. He started to make a turn out of the bed. You can see his nose. That's why you can see all of his nose gear. It's outside the bed itself. This is Jaeger, again, CRJ back in 2010. And then this was just a couple years ago up in Reading, Pennsylvania, another biz jet. Just showing you the variety of sized aircraft we can help with. Right now, Our systems can go to, we can model for stopping aircraft down to 12,500 pounds. Really, that's like a King Air is about the lightest we can stop. Anything lighter than that, we're just not able to predict how much it's going to sink into the material, one. And then two, they're so light, they don't really sink deeply into the air, into the material. We would, back when you had Lear 35s, they were so light, they would actually be harder to stop than say like a 737. They would take a longer distance because they just wouldn't sink into the material. So you wouldn't get the interaction of the wheels with the material to slow it down. I always thought that was kind of interesting, counterintuitive. Let's see. Oops. One question we get quite a bit is about undershoots, because they are at the back end of the RSA. So as it says right there, it doesn't cause any control problems. You have to remember is a couple things. Is one, even though an EMAS bed might be 300 feet long, you're still flying and you're going over it really quickly. So your exposure to it is really short. Two, you are flying, so your wings are taking the load of the aircraft. There's nothing on the wheels if the wheels were to interact with the EMAS system. So what happens is, you can end up with just skid marks. This guy, this was really bad because he actually flew into the back of it, but he was able to make it. He just bounced and went. But the other point is even if you do start to engage the bed, your gear is in full extension, so it's just starting to come up and pick up weight. Because again, you're flying, you're not rolling on the ground like you saw with the arrestment here in the video. He's all the weight's on the wheels at that point, and you're just rolling on the ground, and that's when you get your interaction. So I think we've had a total of 6 undershoots reported that made it back to us, and I think over half the time the pilots didn't even realize they had done anything. They were unaware of it. It was such a little blip.
We had over at ABE airport, Allentown, PA. So I asked them, hey, who did it? They said, no idea. No one reported anything. They found some time marks, not this picture, but something similar to this. The point is really, the EMAS doesn't require any control problems. Yeah.
What to look for is EMAS will be called out, as you see. Or I think this is from Air Nav.
Get the IP.
Oh,
yeah, there's some little details there. No, you can't see them. I cannot see that here. So just there's some information about EMAS at certain airport. As you could read it, fine print.
yeah, it really is just saying what end is it on and things like that. There's nowhere does it start to talk about, say, the performance Hong alluded to earlier. Is it a true 70-knot system? Is it a 62-knot system? You're not going to find that kind of data. Really what they're doing is making you aware that there is an EMAS, which will also let you know that what you probably already do know as a pilot is that it's a short RSA. It's a non-standard RSA that's been improved, had its level of safety improved with the installation of the EMAS system. I think that's it. Oh, this is I'll call it a training video. It's not one of ours. It's out on the internet, but it's 2 minutes long. So I don't want to steal any more time from anybody else by just going through a 2-minute video that we can get the link to Boca and they can share with anybody that is interested. Oh, you're gonna watch it. There we go. That's it. So are there questions now, or they said questions at the end? Okay, are there any questions?
How many companies are there making these systems?
There is just us right now that is FAA approved for having the system.
If you saw anything on the internet, there's a Chinese company made a copy.
Yeah, we put 2 beds in there in 08, and we left the EMAS Max system is a bunch of 4-foot square tiles, and we left a bunch of tiles there because it was just too expensive to bring them home. But that was short-sighted, so they figured out their own. Yeah, when you have an overrun, it is the responsibility of the aircraft's insurance company to get the EMAS back up to 100%. Yeah, so we get to talk to insurance companies a lot.
System like here at Boca, how much was that on the taxpayer to install that system?
Oh geez, I'd have to look it up. A general EMAS system is going to be, say, $4 to $6 million
Each part of the road?
each end. Correct, each end.
What's the longevity of it? The mean?
Based on it's AIP funded, Airport Improvement Programs funding. So, and that requires a 20-year lifespan. So we have an anticipated 20 years. With the EMAS Max systems, our oldest systems right now, I think, are getting to 18, 19 years old. We actually have touched 20, excuse me. Yeah, 2505. Yeah. So 20 years. And they're really what we've seen to date is the core material, which is for an EMAS Max is a lightweight cement, believe it or not, no aggregate, no sand. And the core material seems to be in great shape. What happens is the encapsulation system, it's a plastic lid with some seam seal to cover all the gaps between each block, is just sitting out in the sun. Those things get beat up by the sun is really what leads to replacements. The 3 systems we replaced this year, actually, we 2 up at Worcester. Roanoke, actually, the one at Roanoke we replaced last year. That was one of our original generation systems that was installed last year. What's the third one? I'm forgetting it. Charlotte. Yeah, Charlotte and MSP both had their beds. They were replacements as opposed to new installations. So
Moisture affect at all, like winter operations, like freezing?
no, yeah, it doesn't seem to it hasn't bothered them. No, that's you try and keep the moisture as best you can out. They're not, by no means are they sealed, but the goal, to your point, it's a cement product, so you're trying to keep the moisture out. But again, we did some early on. We did some testing with the FAA up at a cold research laboratory in New England, where we instrumented up a few blocks, a little mini bed, and I think they ran them through 20 accelerated cold, freeze thaw cycles to get an understanding of what's happening with each component. Not, each block has about, let's just make it 3-4 components. So how is that behaving? And then how is the overall system behaving? And there was no detriment to it. It was fine. And actually what we found over time is the EMAS is like an actually pretty good insulator. So on an airfield, EMAS is one of the last places for snow to collect. And then it's also one of the first places for the snow to start to melt off. And then I think, as anybody can attest to, you go out to an airfield, they're really windy. What we've seen also is there might be snow around an airfield, but the EMAS tend to be blown clean just by natural, say, drifting or whatever the right word would be, to keep them clear. So.
How long does it take to reinstall it once there's been an overrun?
Well, the actual work, like you take this one here, I think is about 180 blocks maybe that have to be replaced. That the actual work is probably going to be 3-4 night shifts. What takes multiple weeks is the steps up to that, is getting a contractor lined up, getting our staff all set up, getting the blocks ready and down here. The longest pole in the tent that we've seen from the 25 prior arrestments is getting the funding in place. Like I said, the insurance companies, they all seem to ask the same question. What's an EMAS? Why is this so expensive? Why does it have to be this way and not that way? And once you get kind of through that, redoing that learning curve over again, then we're able to get it under contract and get down here again just to get it back up to speed 100%. The FAA advisory circular says if you are going to be designing an EMAS or you have an EMAS product, it has to be, I'll say, a material or built in such a way that it can be replaced in 45 days. That's their goal. And knock on wood, we've been successful in that. Again, if it's gone past, like there was one at Jaeger, there was some snowstorms that delayed us a couple weeks. And then really, like I've seen the funding take, add 2 months, 3 months to a repair to try and get it done.
You have an estimate concentrate, or do you
So you probably do all the blocks up at your plant.
Yeah.
Okay. You transport them here and then it's just the installation here, I'm gathering, right?
Yep.
And you have to test it. I'm sure it goes through a lot of testing.
Yeah, so
There.
for this system, those are EMAS Max beds. Those are prefabricated, like blocks.
Okay.
We just ship them over, then glue them down, call it there. So every single block is factory tested before we send it out.
How thick are they?
So it goes up
Depends on the
about 6 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, all the way up to 20. For most of the design, sometimes it goes up to 17. For the bigger airport, like goes up to 26s.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
Big
much.
transfer, yeah.
We got steps we can, work out.
That's just amazing though to see how many lives were saved just with this incident here. Because I know that Southwest one you showed, I think a mom and a 2-year-old kid in the car were killed.
Yeah, there,
I mean, there should be a cost that should be given to the public too, of how much, I mean, if you could try to guesstimate what happened here and how many lives were saved.
yeah, we did that. Yeah, we've done that, but it's so biased, the numbers we come up with, because okay, an airplane costs this many millions of dollars.
That's in all the, no, I could just imagine. I mean, and just the lives lost.
Still one life.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much.
Well, thanks.
I'm sorry. What is the circumstance with the airport prior to your funding by an onerous insurance company?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
No, if you meet up with an insurance company that's not going to give you the money right away for the repair.
Oh, yeah. What we've seen is some airports, like, they're municipally owned. They'll use I'll say the county's insurance will pay to get the work done quickly. To allow us to get under a contract, and then the county's insurance will go after, what do they call it? Like reciprocal subrogation with the aircraft's insurance company to be made whole that way. We've seen that happen a couple times. I think Key West has done it maybe once or twice, and I've seen it at some other airports too. Is that my answer to your question?
Yes.
Okay.
The question is, what does the airport documentation look like in that interim period?
You'll put, what to date the FAA's is stated you put out a NOTAM of, I think it's a limited performance or a non-conforming EMAS. Is just be a NOTAM out. That's all it says. Is my understanding. That's not something, the FAA kind of got involved with that and they wanted some specific language around it. So it would stay consistent, I guess.
Are you guys, quick question, are you looking at materials that might be reusable in the future where you don't have to replace? them?
Yeah, we look at a lot of stuff, actually. You'd be surprised. Like, we could geek out hard with you up here on all the things we've done and tried. The green EMAS I was speaking about actually use the core material instead of being a cement product. The core material is recycled glass that is melted down, and in this process, they essentially foam it. Foam glass is what it's called, and the pieces come out. They're maybe like twice as big as my thumb, and they're very much like pumice. Kind of gray, very coarse. A lot of air inside of them. And that's just piled up, just as Hong said, it ramps up to a specific height, a design height. It gets covered with a lightweight cement product. So that's the closest we've gotten into something that would be reusable or of a recycled material. What you'd be surprised at how, the best way to put it, like delicate airplanes are trying to decelerate them predictably and I'll say controllably, because like we could stop an airplane much quicker. We'd break the nose gear every time. And then if I have a grandmother on board, how many G's are we going to put her in a lap belt on? You start to have to worry about those things. Those are, I think the FAA advisory circular says you can't go over like a G.5, maybe something like that. Don't know off the top of my head. So it limits, you think you found a really good product and it doesn't make it.
You had an occasion of multiple arrests on the same EMAS.
No, not yet. Oh, wait. I mean, you mean one like before it's fixed?
Yeah.
No. No, luckily they're really rare events. This past September, I figure is going to go down in the history books with 3 in 1 month.
They passed 3 times. So
Well, no, but not like while it's being waiting to get repaired.
the majority of the best still there.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't run into the same.
Exact same spot. Yeah, like I said, this overrun you saw was a nice, pretty high speed event, high energy event. But like I said, I think it's 185 blocks need to be replaced, and that bed's at least 2,300 blocks all total.
Has this been scheduled for repair?
No, we're actually just trying to get under a contract right now. We're in the final phases of that. I think the schedule is to have it done, I'll say before the holidays,
Will it cause an airport closing?
to make the repair. And again, it'll be nice. I'm sorry, am I taking too long? Oh,
No. I'll go ahead and address that. We actually just sent you guys the contract yesterday, so you should have that in your inbox for manufacturing. I'm Scott Cope, by the way. I'm the deputy director. And yes, there will be airport closures. It will be an overnight process, like most of our construction here at the airport. So we'll be closed most likely from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. daily. So that's what to expect. And just a little more information. Someone had asked about the cost. Here at Boca Raton, the 2 systems, one on each end, costs about $13 million. That was paid for 95% by federal aviation infrastructure grants and 5% by Florida Department of Transportation infrastructure grants. The remaining 5% came from the operating funds of the airport. So there were 0 taxpayer dollars spent at the local level. But Trip, I think that was an amazing presentation. Thank you all. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Hannah to continue the program.
Very insightful. And, we're very blessed and proud to have such phenomenal systems here installed on either end of our runway. So just a note, I forgot to mention at the beginning, this meeting is being live streamed. So if we could say hi to the viewers on YouTube. They're also tuning in through Instagram Live as well. So next, we're going to pass it along to Mr. Robert Murphy with Signature Aviation to share some insights on TFRs from an FBO perspective.
Good morning, everyone. Robert Murphy here, Signature Aviation here in Boca Raton. And just want to give some general guidelines. I know there's probably a lot of questions. We went through our first spring season at TFRs these past few months, and probably a few upset pilots out there. Anybody fly in during the TFR periods? Show of hands. No? Okay. Maybe not so many upset people. So, I see Atlantic back there. I see John, and I know he's gone through a lot of the same trials and tribulations that we went through over there at Signature. But just so you guys are aware, you folks are aware, when a TFR is announced, it's generally on Sunday or Monday prior to the TFR period, and we get those time frames. And at that point, especially for Signature at least, the planning portion of it becomes the most critical portion of that TFR for us. Anybody that's been over on my ramp there at Signature knows we've got a very, very limited footprint. Our best case scenario, we can fit 41 aircraft over there. We had days during March, during the TFRs, where we went through 138 operations. So doing the math, 138 operations times 41 or divided by their 41 spots, we're turning that ramp over 3.5 times for the day. So like I said, the planning portion becomes very, very critical for us. Our folks that work at the desk on our reservation side, they are monitoring how many aircraft we get at a certain time frame. Obviously, with the limited number that we are able to accommodate, we've got to make sure that we're not just saying yes to everybody that picks up the phone or sends an email and wants to come in for the weekend. The other thing that we've got to watch is the size of the aircraft. For those of you in the general aviation community, John especially, I'm sure you know the planes just keep getting bigger and bigger, and our ramp at least isn't getting any bigger. The concrete's staying the same size. I know Atlantic's got some new acreage over there going in for ramp space, but for me, it's again very limited. So we've got to not only monitor the number of aircraft that are coming in during any given time, but also the size of those planes. And we do our best to accommodate. We offer some additional or some different time slots if we are at a capacity situation during those weekends. Or give aircraft the opportunity to come in, drop their passengers, and then reposition to another airport. But I'll say that's really our biggest issue when it comes to those TFR weekends. It's the footprint we have, and it's the sheer volume of the planes that we get. We're the first airport south of Palm Beach that can take those general aviation aircraft. So naturally, everybody wants to come here as their first option. From the other side, we've got a very good partnership with our location up there in Palm Beach. So we're able to bring in additional manpower. We're able to bring in additional equipment. We've got great relationships with our suppliers, with our fuel providers and all that. So we haven't had any issue when it's come to manpower, equipment, or inventory out there. This winter, we're gearing up. We know they're coming again. We know these TFRs are going to be around for the next couple of years. So we took this spring period, used that as our blueprint for what's coming up for the next 3.5 years, and we'll go from there. Questions for anybody? It's pretty much it on my side. It's like I said, we do everything we can to plan, try to make it flow as quickly and as seamlessly as possible for everybody. There may be some inconveniences, like I said, based on our capacity limitations, but that's how we do it from the FBO side.
All right. Well, if you think of any questions along the way, feel free to go ahead and ask them towards the end of the meeting. So we're going to move right along. We have some folks from the Palm Beach Air Traffic Control Team who will be sharing some insights from their perspective on the TFRs.
Good morning. I'm Ravel Savage here from Palm Beach Air Traffic Control Facility. Thank you. And this is Aaron Davis. He's also here helping out as well. We'll go over a couple of things that happens with the TFR so you get a behind the scenes look at what some of the things that we do. It's kind of hectic on our end, but we just want to make sure that the flying public are safe and know what to do during a TFR.
We're not going anywhere.
It's perfectly fine. I did the PDF instead of the PowerPoint, so we'll run through it real quick. This is just an overview of how many aircraft are going to be affected during a TFR. Palm Beach serves all the way up to Vero Beach and then also all the way south to Boca. So most of these aircraft will be coming here to Boca, and then a lot of them will also be going to Stuart. When the POTUS visits the TFR, we usually get a temporary notification like, hey, he may be coming or he may not be coming, and then it's unofficial at that time. And then we'll get an official notification within 3 to 5 days, and that like they said previously, that's the hectic time where we're trying to plan and make sure that all of the pilots and our outreach email know that the POTUS will be coming to town. So we'll start planning with that, working with Secret Service. Palm Beach Network do have an email blast that we send out to all of our pilots. If you are not on that email blast, feel free to see me or Aaron, and we'll make sure that you are included. The outreach phone calls to airports inside or near the TFR. If you're not 100% positive, if you're not on that email blast, then feel free to call us at the TRACON. I'll have a number there for you, and always ask, hey, is POTUS coming? And we can give you that information. So you can say. This is just a map. You have the inner ring, which is the 10-mile bubble, and then the outer ring, and it affects a lot of airports within that outer ring circle. We'll go into a little bit of detail after this. With the TFR, the email blast, it'll kind of look like this, what the TFR represents as far as the 30-mile and then 10-mile ring. And then you'll get an update on some of the things that you can do. Also included in that email blast is if you are going to be doing some non-standard training, actually non-standard operations, then there is a letter that we give to the Secret Service in order to get it approved. They are doing the approving, we're just handing it over to them. So the FAA doesn't approve anything within the 10 or within the 30-mile bubble. So the TFR only in effect when the president is in town. The known TFR center point is repeatable, which it will be at Palm Beach. And then the defined TFR is a 10-mile inner core, and then you have the 10 to 30-mile outer core. So surface to 18, flight level 180, basically. And then for the 10-mile inner ring, that is a no-fly zone. You have to be vetted by Secret Service in order to go into the 10-mile bubble. So this is kind of what it looks like here. If you're looking on the air traffic scope, the 10-mile bubble, which serves Lantana, unfortunately is affected by it. So it cuts off all operations at Lantana. And then Palm Beach, if you are vetted by Secret Service, you are approved to land or depart. And then the 30-mile bubble is the outside. You just need to be squawking and talking to air traffic. So the inner core, surface to flight level 180, just shy of it. All aircraft operations are prohibited except military aircraft, law enforcement. Some flight operations are approved within the 10-mile bubble, basically emergency aircraft. Your regular scheduled commercial passengers and all cargo operations under TSA approval and the U.S. Secret Service approval. And then for your 10 to 30-mile radius, also flight level up to flight level 180 from the surface. And then all aircraft operating within the outer ring are limited to aircraft arriving or departing local areas. So as long as you are going to and from a destination, as you are approved in the 30-mile bubble, but you cannot loiter or you cannot do different type of activities. All aircraft must be on an active IFR or a filed VFR flight plan. And these are the ones that are not authorized. As you can see, flight training, unfortunately, no practice instrument approaches, and glider operations, parachute operations, all of those things are not approved. But the ones that are highlighted in yellow, like banner tower operations, agricultural, crop dusting, these things here can be approved on a day-to-day basis. In that email blast, if you do have a request to do any of these other operations, you just fill it out, what the date, the area that you're going to be, they'll get back to you and let you know if it's approved or not. And this is what it looks, it kind of looks like this. That's what you'll receive. And this is just a grid map just a grid map so we can provide it to Secret Service. A lot of the agents that come here, they're not from this area. So they're asking questions like, okay, well, how close is it to Otis's house? How close is it to his golf course? How close is it going to be inside a 10-mile bubble? The distance, and that determines if it's going to be approved or not. So how do you fly? The main thing that I can tell everybody who is flying is always check your NOTAMs. These TFRs are usually, they usually move. Sometimes they have 2 at a time. Sometimes, depending on where he's going in the South Florida area, it could be going to Miami-Dade, then back at Palm Beach. So always check your NOTAMs. And if you're in doubt, just contact us. We will let you know as soon as possible. File a VFR or IFR flight plan. That's for, Secret Service if they need to get in touch with the pilot or anything. And then also obtain a mode 3 code, and then also talking to air traffic. So if you want to maneuver inside that 30-mile bubble, just make sure you have a discrete code from air traffic, and then also talking to air traffic. There's a couple of ways you can get the discrete code. You can get it from Miami Center if you're coming inside of the 30-mile ring, or you can get it on the ground by contacting us at Palm Beach. Remain outside of the 30-mile bubble until you get in contact with air traffic and they give you that discrete code. When radar services are terminated, even if air traffic tells you, squawk VFR, frequency change approved, do not squawk VFR. We constantly say that all the time when there is no POTUS in town, and sometimes by muscle memory, we will say that. So please remain on your discrete code, even on the ground. This is a couple of numbers for TSA. That's the number there, 561-227-5020. If you have any questions as far as getting screened coming in to land or depart Palm Beach. And then here for the inbound gateway screening, these are the 5 airports that you can get a gateway screening in order to land at Palm Beach. And then at the actual airport at Palm Beach, if you want to depart, you have to be screened in order to depart as well. And a couple of FBOs, Atlantic Jet, NetJets, and Signature. That's where you can do your screening there. And if you, I think that's pretty much it there. And then as far as during the TFR, you can expect a little bit of delay, unfortunately. We apologize in advance. Sometimes this thing is happening on the spur of the moment. He may be taking calls. It may delay air traffic as far as them departing. So you can expect a 7 to 10 minute delay prior to the POTUS arriving. And that's usually because we have to do a runway sweep and we have to make sure that everything is safe for the president. After they do the runway sweep, unfortunately, nobody else can use that runway until he is in his car and off the field. And then also as far as departing, you have to do another runway sweep and then he'll depart. And then once he departs, then we can go back to normal operations. So you guys can always expect a little bit of delay. Sometimes it goes over the 10 minutes because this is all happening all at once and we're trying to coordinate with a lot of entities. And then sometimes he takes phone calls, so it can get a little lengthier than 10 minutes. As far as the intercept, what do you do if you do get intercepted? Just make sure you stay calm. Establish contact with air traffic. Usually we'll try to reach out to you as soon as possible. And then also, if you cannot hear us, reach out on the guard frequency 121.5. We're always monitoring that. And if you do get intercepted, just follow their instructions. Follow their instructions. Air traffic will be on the frequency to help you guys out to make sure you land at the nearest closest airport to you, and then we'll start taking questions from there in order to pass it along to Safer Service. And then another thing you can expect if you're departing Palm Beach during that time is you can expect some of the fan headings, and we have to miss the POTUS's house. In order to miss his house, because it's off of the departure end of our main runway, we have to put you guys on heading 70, 50, or either a 30, and then the same for the south departures. Now, for the south departures, it affects Boca's airport, so we're constantly in communications as far as air traffic, the 140 and the 160, and then making sure the departures off of Boca, we kind of like have to avoid that 10-mile bubble. So everything gets cluttered in a specific area between Palm Beach and then also Boca. And that's pretty much it. Any questions? Yes.
How many intercepts have we had so far?
It has been more than 10, probably more than 20 that I can remember last time, yes. And it's usually pilots just unfortunately didn't check their NOTAMs. They didn't know if a TFR was in effect. And it's usually pilots who have, they just depart from their backyard. Any other questions?
Thank you so much. Y'all are getting quiet. You gotta come up with some questions. All right, so next we have a phenomenal presentation by some folks from the Tyndall Air Force Base. So if you guys want to come out. I don't know who's going first. You're going first? Cool. Yeah. We got a couple presentations for you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Kurt Ruckerman. I fly out of the fighter squadron at Tyndall. I had my first flight, general aviation, supposed to be my first flight on September 11, 2001. I was on the way to the airport in Colorado Springs when the first tower got hit. I've been flying fighters for the Air Force for about 16 years. I'm also a 121 pilot on the outside. So I've seen this from multiple angles on there. So we'll talk about temporary flight restrictions. And we'll see outside. All right, there we go. I've already talked about this. I'll go through this. I'll breeze through the stuff quickly that's already been talked about. And then we'll answer any questions towards the end. And I'll defer everything to the AOC or Air Operations Center because they'll have a lot more information for you. All right, we talked about what a TFR is. Special circumstances. We're talking a lot about the president being down here. Also realize it's also for your sporting events. So watch out for Marlin Stadium, Dolphin Stadium, especially as we're now into the sports season for football. So that will also be a common TFR site. So really anywhere there's a large concentration of people and we're trying to maintain safety of that large concentration is where you're going to see these TFRs. So I pulled this one up back at the end of July when I built the slides here, but big one is you can already see there's your standing TFRs for Mar-a-Lago as well as also for a Marlins game that was going on. So you can see there are going to pop up. You can use your favorite flight planning software. This came off of SkyVector, where flights can have a similar view where you can see graphically if these NOTAMs are actually in effect for the local area. And those are probably some pretty common ones based on just the local flying area here. Again, tfr.faa.gov. So again, I know we're in the digital age, so I'm young enough to realize that. So again, I put there the QR codes. You can zap that if you want, and that's going to be where it's going to give you more information. You can bring up a map that'll look a graphical view the same way. You can select your center, select your state, and really it's a great resource to find out some of those TFRs apart from just the NOTAM system, which is also another great place to find your TFRs as well. And that will give you additional eye chart here in a second, which will give you all the particular specifics for your TFR itself. Okay, so obviously the biggest one we're concerned about is the one for by Mar-a-Lago, which you're gonna have a lot of information on there too. So resources, the Air Operations Center nicely printed these off for you already. That's what's on the card. So a nice kneeboard card. If you prefer to have it in ForeFlight, go ahead and zap a picture with your phone. You can put it in ForeFlight or you're on your EFB there. So you got reference there for easy reference. Because probably a lot of the stuff is you're not going to necessarily have a lot of familiarity with because hopefully you're not having these happen a lot. So if we can talk to you, that's probably the easiest way. But when it comes down to visual signals, that's where it gets a little more complicated. Realizing I have flown several operations in support of TFRs, both up in the national capital region as well as down here as well. And we're very busy on the radios. We're typically talking to the Air Operations Center on one radio. We're talking to ATC on a second radio. And we're also trying to complete the intercept at the same time. Realize too, if you've not have any familiarity flying or knowing a lot about military aircraft, these aircraft fly at a significantly higher speed than most of your general aviation aircraft. So what that means is they're not going to pull up alongside you and stay there for very long. They're going to be passing by you generally at a pretty high rate of speed. So what ATC said already, if you realize you are being intercepted, please stay predictable. We are responsible for maintaining deconfliction from you all. However, the more predictable you can stay, the safer we can stay away from you, and realize that we will generate a good bit of turbulence based on either the engines and or the weight or the lift from the aircraft as we go by, which could cause you all some control problems. So again, please stay predictable. Big ones there. You can see here's all the intercept procedures. There are going to be two of us, so you'll generally see one of us. What you will not see is you generally will not hear us on the radios. You generally will not see us on your TCAS or your ADSB. Okay. Obviously, we're going to have our mode 3s off because we don't want to set off any TCAS for any airliners. And obviously we want to be covert, so we're not going to have it on for the ADSB. So just realize there'll be one behind you. It'll generally be some kind of a pattern where we're going to fly past and then come back around. And what you can expect if we need you to go a certain direction is we're going to, again, use the visual signals there to actually complete the intercept. We can monitor 121.5. So if you're talking to guard on 121.5, we're in contact with ATC. So if you contact them, they will relay to us so that we understand that you're complying with what we've asked you to do. So that's pretty much it. So that's it from the fighter side. So it's generally not a very exciting time for us doing that. I did not ever have to leave and do a complete intercept. So a lot of 8 hours of not doing a whole lot of anything. But it is a fairly significant event for us actually to leave, because then they have to start clearing the airspace in front of us, to include clearing out airliners, 121 traffic, and other aircraft, so we can actually complete the intercept safely. And that's really the biggest thing, is ensuring just not only the safety of the TFR, but also the safety of the aircraft flying as well. Any questions for me? Yes.
I'm fascinated by how quickly you guys kind of get off the ground when that's occurring.
Mhm.
How long does it really take, especially when there's something coming into the inner ring or something with TFR?
So as far as the TFRs, we can do a couple things. We can be on alert on the ground. The ones that I supported, we were actually already airborne. So we're actually airborne flying generally somewhere fairly close, within 30 to 40 miles from the TFR. And that's why we're talking with air traffic control, because we're in a protected piece of airspace that's segmented from the other air traffic. But for us to leave that airspace, we now obviously have to start descending and crossing air routes, approach corridors and things like that. So that's why we need to be in close contact with them. Does that answer your question? Yes, go ahead. Yes.
I live in Delray Beach,
Mhm.
and I'm about a quarter mile next door to Piers. And a couple times during TFRs, or at least we've noticed, is coming in. I've seen F-16s very low circling the neighborhood. Is that just to keep an eye on possible planes launching out of there while Otis is touching down at PBI, or is that just to keep an eye on what's going on, or?
So where we are with respect to our location to the TFR is, so think about it, we have two controlling agencies that we're working with at the same time. We're working with air traffic control as far as, because we are on an IFR flight clearance. We're also working with the Air Operations Center, and they're the ones who are directing where specifically we are postured with respect to that TFR. So I couldn't speak to you specifically about those particular ones. But we're going to follow direction from the Air Operations Center, who's controlling us. And that's based on where their requirements are and what their perceived threat level is. Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I will turn it over to the Air Operations Center folks too afterwards. You can ask them some good questions too. All right, thank you.
Hi, guys. Major Corbin Lemon, go by Frag. I'm a C-130 guy, so much lower and slower than these guys, but they do all the hard work. I am one of the members of the team for the General Aviation Outreach Program that we have at Tyndall Air Force Base, where we have that Air Operations Center that you've been hearing about. Just real quickly, I'd like to thank the Boca Raton Airport Authority and all the individuals involved here for giving us the opportunity to speak to you today. There's often this perception of separation between military aviation and civil aviation, and our ability to kind of break through that barrier and engage you guys directly is real critical to our partnership. So thank you to you guys for hosting us year after year as we do this. General aviation is something I started in before I joined the military. It is an area in which I've really started to understand a passion for flight. So I know you guys all have that. It is just this kind of cornerstone of freedom and commerce that we enjoy here in America and that we share with you as part of the military aviation community. So just know that we are your partners in this. And as part of that partnership, we are actively trying to just maintain the safety and security of our nation's airspace. The General Aviation Outreach Program that we have at Tyndall is meant to proactively reach out to you, our fellow aviators, to keep you aware and abreast of what's going on. And so that together we can try to mitigate the risks of the temporary flight restrictions and reduce the need to do any intercepts that might occur. So the outreach program has been in effect for a number of years, and our data shows that time after time, just keeping these communication channels open with you has driven down those number of airspace violations and has driven down the amount of intercepts. So that's better for everyone. We'll get a little bit more into the function of that program. I have two speakers for you today. First is Lieutenant Colonel Eisminger. He's going to talk you through kind of the partnership that we have with our interagency members and how we are able to enforce and protect the airspace during flight restrictions. And then after that, I'll bring up Lieutenant Turnmeyer, who's our public affairs officer. He's going to speak to you more about how we actively engage in that mission and execute it, reaching out to our partners and how that information filters down to you guys. So once again, quick thanks to you all for being here. For anyone who's watching online, it is absolutely critical that we get to have this open dialogue with you guys and talk through what's going on. You guys are really what help keep and maintain the safety and enjoyment of that airspace for everyone. So thank you once again, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Corin. All right, as you said, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Russell Eisminger, and in my active duty Air Force career, I flew fighters, and then I've been with the Air Operations Center, the 601st AOC at Tyndall for 11 years now. So I've seen a thing or two as we've gone through the years, different presidents and all the TFRs and how we've responded to that. And yes, like you said, our outreach program has significantly dropped our numbers. At least we like to take credit for that, at least partially, to drive awareness. Let's see. First, I'll talk about a little bit about the organizational structure of the military within the homeland. So at the top, you have the Combatant Command, which is NORAD Northcom. They're out in Colorado Springs. That's the Combatant Command headquarters. And then under NORAD, we are the air component to NORAD Northcom. We are AF North. CONAR is the Continental NORAD region. We're at Tyndall. Our AOC is the execution or operational branch of the air component to NORAD Northcom. So we have our operations floor. We do air planning. We have our operations floor where we manage and oversee air operations throughout the continental United States 24/7. So that's kind of what we do, where we come from at the AOC. And then underneath the AOC, you have the air defense sectors. You got Eastern Air Defense Sector up in New York. You got the Western Air Defense Sector in Washington State. And those are the guys that are the tactical C2. They're the ones that are talking to the fighters, scrambling the jets, and getting them where they need to be for the mission. And then under the sectors, you got all the flying units. So various flying units, the fighters, the tankers, the AWACS, and all those other aircraft. As far as the interagency stuff that Corin mentioned here was, we really work closely with the FAA on a lot of things with this mission. On our operations floor where we're managing the operations, we have a FAA counterpart there that is pretty much always there on the floor that is able to inform us from the FAA's perspective of what's going on to make sure that we have the latest and greatest information from the FAA side. We also, in our network of radars throughout the United States to maintain that domain awareness, we have military radars, but we also have all the FAA radars that are fed in, so we can make sure that we maximize our awareness of what's going on throughout the U.S. for the air sovereignty mission. So why are we here? Us specifically, the military guys. So we're here kind of because there's these common TFRs that happen, Bedminster, Mar-a-Lago, and even though they're common, they happen on a routine basis, there's still quite a bit of TFR violations that have already been mentioned. Almost on a daily basis, we'll have like one violation on average. And so it's a continuing problem. So we're here to just kind of get the word out, address it, and make sure we can increase awareness to the max extent possible, both to avoid violating the TFR and then also to be aware of what to do if you get intercepted for violating it. As mentioned, for historics about why aircraft violated, a lot of them are just TFR unaware. A lot of times it's IFR traffic that cancels early. Like was said, sometimes ATC will mistakenly say that. So don't cancel your IFR, maintain that discrete mode 3 through landing. And then sometimes we'll be responding to an aircraft that has a broken transponder. From our perspective, it looks like a primary only track of someone not squawking. So obviously in those cases, talk to ATC and figure that out. But sometimes the pilots don't even know that their transponder is broken. So those are a lot of the situations that we see that are obviously not huge threats. So a lot of times these situations seem relatively innocent, but the big thing you got to realize from the defense perspective is that we don't know the intent of the aircraft, right? We are just trying to get there and figure out what's going on and assess the situation. So in order to defend our defended sites, we have to really consider the worst intent or assume the worst intent until we can determine otherwise. That's a little bit about the TFR schedules. I know it was already mentioned, but just want to foot stomp that that the president's schedule can change last minute. So just make sure, even though you think you have the latest data from 2 days old, check it before you go fly, because it could change. It could either add a TFR or take away a TFR. So check it before you take off. Our ATC reps also did a good job talking about the rules for the TFR, and I want to foot stomp that as well. Just realize that merely squawking and talking is not good enough, because if you're squawking 1200 and talking, that's not good enough, right? As you mentioned, you got to be on a discrete mode 3, you got to be on a flight plan, and you got to be talking to ATC. I just wanted to emphasize that. As far as NORAD in general, for what we do in order to maintain air security throughout the United States, we regularly employ, as mentioned, a complex array of radars, both ground-based and air-based radars sometimes, to maintain awareness. We have air defense fighters armed with air missiles and gun, so that we're ready to respond within minutes, sometimes from a ground alert posture, sometimes from an air patrol posture. We also have U.S. Coast Guard helicopters trained for air intercept, and we actually have a rep here from the Coast Guard. So, are you talking at all?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So we'll get to hear from you later. But yeah, so we have helicopters ready to respond. We have ground-based air defense missile systems at specified locations. Can't get too specific about that, but I'm just talking about NORAD in general. We have those tools at our disposal in order to defend throughout the U.S. These defense measures are in place to ensure we can respond to any threat to the homeland. And with the recent threats to our government leaders, we are taking every potential threat seriously. So now for aircraft that do violate a VIP TFR, they can expect to get a Coast Guard helicopter or a fighter off their wing very quickly. I know the question was asked, how quickly? It really depends on our posture, but I can tell you that our air defense sectors are looking very closely at any like 1200 traffic, for example, that's approaching the edges of the TFR, so that we can lean forward and make sure that we get there as soon as possible to make sure that we can assess the threat or assess the situation before a certain aircraft gets too close to the center point. All right. For fighters, they usually come from our Air National Guard units, flying the F-15 C model, the Eagle, or the F-16 Fighting Falcon, or the F-35 Lightning II. It could be other aircraft, but those are some of our more common ones that you might see out there. For the helicopter, you can expect to see the Coast Guard's MH-65 Dolphin, which it has that orange paint scheme on it. If intercepted by one of these aircraft, it's important to remain predictable, as was mentioned, and to not descend, right? If there's someone trying to target what we're protecting, they're probably going to descend. So don't descend, remain predictable. The fighter will signal with a wing rock, just letting you know that they see you, and please respond in kind with a wing rock to acknowledge. Also at that point, you should definitely be coming up on 121.5 on guard to be able to talk to the intercepting aircraft. And then another thing to realize is that the Coast Guard helicopter, if you get intercepted by that, it likely will have a signboard on the side of it. So it'll probably be having a message going across there saying, reach out to us on 121.5, something similar. So pay attention to that. What you'll see is that one thing we often do is to try and guide you towards the nearest exit of the TFR. So if you see either the Coast Guard helo or the fighter kind of gently pull out in front of you and do a gentle turn away from you, that means follow them, right? They're going to be guiding you to the nearest exit of the TFR while they're also trying to talk to you on the radio. But sometimes a fighter, as was mentioned, there's two fighters, right? So they might be rotating in and out. So if you see the fighter do an aggressive maneuver to pull up and get behind you, don't follow him, right? If it looks like you can't follow the fighter, then don't follow him. If they want you to follow him, it's going to be a nice gentle turn towards the nearest exit of the TFR. All right. What else? Back to my notes here.
All right,
When you establish a contact on guard, you can expect further instructions from the intercepting aircraft and ATC. You might be directed to land at an airport that was not your intended destination. So to the max extent of your abilities, follow those directions and comply with ATC instructions. If you see the fighter aircraft drop their gear, that means that they are directing you to land at the nearest airport, and they are going to help you get to the final of that airport. So follow them and drop your gear if you have droppable gear, and follow the fighter towards where they're leading you. If a TFR violator is not responsive to the interceptor, or if timing necessitates it, the fighter may conduct a headbutt maneuver, which is a close pass where they fly right in front of you to get your attention. Sometimes they might drop flares at the same time just to get your attention. Again, follow. In those cases, that means that you are probably getting close to the center point and it's a higher risk situation. So if you have a headbutt maneuver where a fighter is flying directly in front of you, make sure that you immediately follow them wherever they go, because they're going to be leading you out, and also come up on radio, of course, on guard. And finally, of course, if an aircraft remains unresponsive and NORAD deems it a threat, then based on established rules of engagement, we are prepared to take necessary action to neutralize the threat. Not trying to scare anyone, but just letting you know the seriousness of the situation that we're talking about. And when TFRs are violated, we have an inherent risk there. So just trying to emphasize that. All right. And not only does it put you and your passengers at risk, it also could result in FAA disciplinary action and possible fines and even jail time for violating a TFR. So in summary, check your NOTAMs and your TFRs. Be ready for the Palm Beach TFR because it's coming soon. Use your radios, be on guard, monitor guard, and if able, if you're doing VFR, flight following is always good, talking to ATC. That will help de-escalate the situation whenever you're talking to ATC. And so that's pretty much all I have for you today. Thank you very much for your attention. Thanks for letting us come and talk. And yes, questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You said, I understand the number of the intercepts are going down. How often do you end up doing that headbutt stuff?
How often?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that out of every intercept, maybe 1 out of every 4 intercepts, we might resort to a headbutt. It's not super common, but something like that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Take this very seriously. And one of the issues that I have is the radio communication across Florida coming off multiple airports. It's sometimes difficult to get into immediate contact with center, and Palm Beach is Class Charlie. When Class Charlie is busy and you call them on the radio, they simply do not respond. If I come off Okeechobee and I have my spot code, how high do I have to get at what distance from Palm Beach to get radio contact?
Great question. I do not have that answer.
I'll try to answer that one. So there is a lot of frequency issues over Okeechobee and also Pahokee as well. We have a lot of issues in that area as well. There's multiple frequencies that you can try off of Okeechobee. Off of Okeechobee, you can try 132.6, 132.8, and then you can also try 125.2. Those are the controllers who are taking all of those frequencies in that area. As far as Miami Center, you do have to get a little bit higher in order to talk to them on their 132.25, 132.25. They usually serve the lower areas in that Okeechobee and Pahokee if you can't reach us. But normally you can bounce around to Palm Beach frequencies and somebody should be able to assist you.
So what I want to know is that how does Palm Beach know that I'm on a Class 3 and I need to get in touch with you to come into the TFR versus it's just a busy day and Palm Beach is not going to respond to any radio contact because all their controllers are busy?
So you can do a couple of things. Before you depart, you can get a discrete code. So you can contact us at the TRACON and we'll give you a discrete code on the ground. And then we will expect you. So you'll already be off the ground coming on your discrete code. You'll put your discrete code in your aircraft, and by the time you pop up, we already know who you're talking to. You can do that even if you're coming from Tampa. flying into a TFR, you can get a discrete code from them, and then it just carries on. And then you can try to contact us as well.
So at 500 feet, could you even talk to me on the radio at 30 miles out?
Usually you have to be at least 1,500 feet or above. Usually, that's when we can get in contact with you. If you're coming from like west of Okeechobee or west of Pahokee. So that's something we're kind of working on. That helps people.
What's the Palm Beach Tri-Con?
It's 561-275-1430.
And we'll be hanging out afterwards, so if you have any other questions, come and find us. I'm gonna hand it over to Lieutenant Turnmeyer now.
All right, can everyone hear? I have a new mic on. I apologize for my voice. Of course, the day I actually need it, my voice is out. So if it starts cracking like I'm having puberty again, you can laugh. I'm gonna laugh too. All right, so like I said, I am not a pilot. I'm from Tyndall Air Force Base. I am an officer for our 601st Air Operations Center. I've been in the AOC for about 11 years. Previous to public affairs, I was a command and control battle manager. So I do have a little bit of experience working in the ops floor with the TFRs. But what I'm going to be discussing is our outreach, a little more details that Major Lemon heads up. I appreciate. All right, so our goal of the outreach team is we want to raise awareness for every TFR to pilots who are just like you. So we know with Mar-a-Lago. So with Mar-a-Lago, it's coming up, and obviously it's a big effect down here. So here's some of the ways we're going to reach out to you, and they're very similar to how the FAA is going to reach out to you as well. So the first is with email. We have our own database that we track. It does have some programs running into it like AirNav for FBOs and airports, but we get a lot of our database information from pilots like you. We're no stranger to the Palm Beach TFR. So we have the previous 4 years database worth of pilots. If you're not sure whether you're added to that list or you know for sure you're not, if you want to be, there's going to be an email and a phone call on the next slide. You can reach out to us or get with me or Major Lemon before we leave today, and we'll get you added on there. We want to get as many pilots added to this distribution system as possible before these TFRs kick off.
There was also a sign-up sheet at the front, so you can just scribble it down there and grab you that way as well.
So for the emails, you're going to get, these are our most often used tools for TFR outreach. You'll usually get 2 of them, minimum 2 of them per trip. The first one will be when we get notified of them. It's usually 4 to 5 business days out. We'll blast an email to you, just, hey, heads up, need to prepared, be aware. The president's plans changed, so they could change. The next one will be when the FAA actually drops the TFR NOTAM. We will actually look at that NOTAM with number, say, hey, here's the NOTAM, here's also an image of what they looks like. So be aware when we put that NOTAM number, that is actually the NOTAM number at the time we send the email out. If the FAA republishes it for any reason, whether it's time change or a location change, you will have a new number. So don't freak out if the number is not on there. But just make sure you follow that TFR link, and that'll take you right to the page. The rest of them going down, you're not going to get every time. It's just usually if circumstances allow. For example, phone calls. One, these are not robot phone calls. These are our members of our team, which is we're a small team, or there's a lot of phone calls. It's usually from our unit. We're going to call every single person on that list. And the Palm Beach that's a lot of phone calls. So we won't do that every single time. But if you're like me and you don't like picking up numbers that you're not sure of, that's all right. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. Just make sure you have a voicemail set up, and we will leave that information in the voicemail, and we'll leave a call number. So if you have any questions, you can contact us and we'll give you the most up-to-date information. For social media, this is one of our newer approaches for this year. So as of July, we have the General Aviation Outreach page. It's on Facebook right now. It's less than 100 followers. It's still brand new. But any outreach that we're putting out there for TFRs, go to that page, you'll be able to see them. Right now, if you go to the page, it's got a whole bunch for Bedminster. Bedminster's been very active, and especially with the number of violators we've had up there, we're constantly putting information about that out. So go follow it there. Also, we do targeted campaigns looking for TFR areas. For Florida, you guys make it really easy. There's a Pilots of Florida Facebook group that has just shy of 30,000 members. So we actively will be posting in there as well. So if you're not a part of these, go follow the page. If you have friends that aren't a part of these things, please share. Please share with other pilots. Invite them to our page. We want to distribute our information as much as possible. And our final one is we partner with Silver Air Patrol to help get out to you guys. They've already started and might have already finished the ones for the season tomorrow. I think they started on the 16th or 17th. But materials you have in front of you, we actually send them a whole bunch of them based on how many airports are within that radius. And they will hand deliver these posters, these knee boards, and these stickers out to these individual airports and these grass runways. So again, we have some extra, if you guys need some for help your friends, just make sure come see me or Major Lemon afterwards. And also on the public affairs side, kind of the same thing, but we also host media flights. I know we did one early in the spring this year. We're expecting to have another one in the fall. We get with some of your top media providers in this area. We'll invite them out to ride on the Silver aircraft, and they will be intercepted by a fighter. We'll have a GoPros on there, and so that way they'll run a story. So you guys will get that. All these things just to raise awareness about these TFRs. All right, so here's our contact information. Feel free to take a picture of this because that email was really complicated and I can't even. So Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 16:30 Central Daylight Time. We're on the Tallahassee guys, so we are Central Time. Phone number, that number right there. You can call that anytime during those business hours. If you need questions, they'll point you to the nearest TFR information. If you're calling after hours, you're gonna call me. Right? That is our cell phone number. I will say if you're gonna call me, please make sure you check that site because I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm gonna point you to it afterwards. All right, so going over real quick, the materials you have in front of you, each of these were designed for pilots in mind. So the giant, that is a real image, that is not Photoshopped. If you look at the bottom right corner, there is actually a QR code that takes you directly to the FAA TFR page. I want to point out, we are not trying to be your belly button TFR stuff. All of our stuff, you need to go to the FAA, you need to check your NOTAMs. The knee boards that we discussed earlier, there's two parts to it. The first side is going to cover just general TFR information. The back side, if you find yourself intercepted by a NORAD fighter and you just completely get everything you're supposed to do, it doesn't have directions on there. And the last one is the sticker that was specifically designed for you guys. QR code again takes you to the TFR website. It is actually UV resistant and the adhesiveness is to stick on metal. And the intent for that is somewhere out of your aircraft, blocking any critical gauges, have it in there. So as you're doing your pre-flight checks, if you maybe you forgot to check your TFR and you're looking around, oh, there's my stop sign. I can get my phone or tablet and scan it. Again, we're just trying to help raise awareness for you guys checking your TFRs. That is all I have for you. Please stay safe, fly informed, and check your NOTAMs before every flight. Thank you.
You guys, and one last thing, like I said, we have the sign up sheet on the way in. I'll have business cards, my business card, if you guys need to reach out to me. But like I said, just a foot stop. We are here to communicate to you and keep you guys safe. So any questions you have, like reach out. That is how this works. It all works through communication. So the more you talk to us, the more we can talk to you and spread the word with any of your friends as well, because that's how we build that network, is through you all. So thank you once again. Thank you, Anna.
All right, what are we gonna do? We're gonna check our NOTAMs, right? Okay. So next we have Mr. Christopher Worley. He's with the Coast Guard Coast Guard Auxiliary Station down in Miami, and he's gonna share a few words about the program.
Hi, everybody. My name's Chris. As Hannah said, thank you for having us. Thank you for setting everything up today. I'll keep it short and simple. Just want to go over our website here, if we can pull that up. I'm one of the aviators. I'm the vice commander of Ox Air Miami. And we support the air station in Opelika, which is the active duty. So we're all volunteer pilots from Vero Beach all the way down to the Keys. You can see here on the screen here. So this is at the air station in Opelika. A lot of our members there. That was at one of our safety workshops. You can just scroll down just a little bit. So our mission is to serve as a force multiplier for the Coast Guard Air Station by providing highly trained volunteer aviators, air crews, and aircraft facilities. So all the aircraft that we fly are civilian owned. Most of them are unmarked that provide all the missions. So let's see, just scroll down maybe a little more on this page. This is the overflight. Here's some of the aircraft commanders that fly with at FC. That's one of the barons that we have in the fleet. And we basically patrol 40 miles offshore at 1,000 feet and below. basically from Vero Beach all the way down to the Keys. So we're looking for westbound traffic. We can get diverted for search and rescue. Pretty much anything. So we'd actually fly real active Coast Guard duty missions. So a lot of them are first light searches. So we're wheels up, first thing in the morning. We're offshore, while the sun's coming up. And just fly south looking for anything that's suspicious. So maybe we go to the about page. Can we click on that? Just scroll down here. So it's Oxair Miami, just a little history about Oxair. These are our local guys in the unit. Tom, who's our Miami commander. Mike, who's our ASC for the air station. We don't have a picture for for him, McHale's Navy, but scroll down a little more. It's our this guy, and maybe a little more, you can see the actual air station. So this is actually a really good video showing, if you just go to our website, oxairmiami.com, you can see real live missions. But there's the active duty fleet. You probably see them flying around, the CASAs, and then obviously the rotary wing side. On the Oxair side, we do fixed wing. Nobody in our group has a helicopter, so we just fly fixed wing missions. And then we'll go to fly. This is the fun part. If you click on fly, I'll show you some actual mission photos. This is the CASA. If you scroll down just a little more here, like this is a migrant interdiction we did in the Quezal Bank. We intercepted a drone off Key West, which was that was our intercept, and it was launched out one of these boats here. Scroll down a little more. Some of the guys, that's one of the bonanzas in the group. Some overturned vessels. Let's see, we did just a couple weeks ago, there's some of our flight path. So I think that's at a FXE. But as you can see, it's a wide range of our area of responsibility. Let's see what else we got here. This is down to the Quezal Bank, which is a lot of migrant interdiction area. So we're pretty far south there. Super blue water for sure. It's really, really beautiful. One of the active duty guys getting a water bath there after flying from all the salt water. There was a search and rescue pattern that we did going down into Marathon. This was a fishing vessel that was in distress. They lost their engine, and we were trying to find them. One of the keys down there, just out of there. So they actually set up a Fish and Wildlife came. It was super shallow, so they stayed back. But Good Samaritan wound up towing them back until the Coast Guard came. So yeah, just some missions. There's boat fires. You can all take a look. It's all on our website. There was some boat fires off Dania Beach. So we just supplied aerial resources. They stayed on station until, they came to rescue. So yeah, we're flying real active duty missions. Like I said, it's a volunteer. So we're looking for pilots, aircraft donors to help support the cause. We're actually going to be doing an event here November 15th, fly-in luncheon at Boca Airport at the observation area here. So if you're around, or if the weather's good, and hopefully there's no TFR, that people can fly on the weekend of November 15th. So we'd love to see you. I have some flyers here, more about the program. So if you have any questions or you want to come talk to us, we'd be happy to answer the questions. Thank you for your time. And any questions? Yes.
Are you intercepting the fast boats out of Colombia?
No, but the current trend right now is they're coming through the Bahamas and they're stealing boats, running American flags and coming west. So it's kind of gone away from migrant interdiction. I mean, they're still happening. A lot of it's more drug enforcement than, like you said, the fast boats, or they're just blending in with guys coming from Bimini on a Monday morning. So we're just looking for anything that's out of the ordinary. So yeah, you can see some of the pictures there. We've seen all the midnight expresses doing 60 miles an hour, first thing in the morning. So, I mean, we're putting eyes on them, seeing how many people are on board. taking pictures, relaying it to the cutters. Our operations sector Key West, sector Miami, relaying the info. So, yeah, there's always something going on with our area here in South Florida. From fishing accidents to free divers to drug interdiction to you name it, there's always something going on. So.
Are you flying support for the TFR?
We don't do TFR stuff. We're mainly law enforcement and search and rescue is our main. So yeah, like he said with the helicopters, that's not our, yeah, so. Any other questions? Cool. Well, keep it short and sweet. Thank you for having.
All right, mark your calendars, November 15th. You can come on out here to our observation area. And if you've ever been to any of our events before, we've had outside the box food truck, really good. That's who will be catering. So should be a lot of fun. So I saved the very best for last. Our favorite, Travis Bryan.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I'll keep everything short. I'm Travis Brown. I'm the operations director here for the airport. I just want to take time to thank everybody for coming out and answer any of the last bit of questions we have for you. I'll go through a brief rundown of kind of what we do as an airport for TFR stuff. Lots of communications with folks over at the table here as far as us trying to spread the word to tenants once we get notified. As you know, this airport gets really, really busy in periods of TFRs because it's kind of a pain to get into PBI for a lot of the corporate traffic. So they just decide to drive a little further and come into here. No one tends to bring the small one, the ultralight or anything. It's all in the globals and G550s and stuff that we can't fit a lot of here. So, you know, we don't have a big footprint. We don't have an extra runway or taxiway to close down to park stuff. So we get limited really fast. We've gotten a lot better this presidential term after learning a lot the first go round. Unfortunately, a couple times during the first term, we actually had to close the airport to all arrivals for a period of time just to let things simmer down a little bit. There's actually aircraft opening doors on active taxiways and passengers not wanting to wait any longer and taking a walk at night. So we can't have this. So it's gotten a lot better with a lot more coordination with the FAA head of air traffic working with us, as well as Palm Beach approach and Miami Center. And we use our tower staff here to work with them as well, as far as just getting ahead of the game and having our FBOs actively notify us of. We've kind of instituted a program to where they'll call us and say, we're at 50% capacity and we have X number of arrivals scheduled. Okay, we'll contact ATC, say we might need to start slowing things down. Once they say we're at 75% capacity to avoid the code word gridlock, which is sets alarm bells off in the TRACON, we'll actually call and say we need some sort of a flow control program into here to just start pumping the brakes, not stopping traffic, just instead of the normal arrival rate, maybe 30 miles in trail, 50 miles in trail, something like that coming down the East Coast, just to kind of slow the arrival rate down a little bit to allow for departures to get out of here so that we have parking. One of our biggest issues we run into is if, say, Teterboro or one other very popular destination goes ground stop for weather or whatever it may be, and half the planes that we're going to leave out of here haven't, and we still have a lot more filed into here airborne, it starts getting really busy really quick. So we try to get ahead of it and talk to ATC and just have them really start pumping the brakes on the arrival rate. And they've also agreed this go around for the presidential term to any time a TFR is issued, they automatically reduce the arrival rate as far as IFR arrivals into here, just to help somewhat alleviate some of the issues. So gives the FBOs a little bit of a breather to service the aircraft and turn around and get them pointed back out of here again. And then hopefully avoid the big trigger pull of shutting the whole place down for a little bit. But it seems to work a lot better the last TFR season. We're kind of starting to ramp up into that. The first good cold patch, I guess, would be the next test. So like I said, I was going to keep this short, but I'd be happy to take any questions for a little bit and see if I can at least come up with some semblance of an answer.
With all the construction on the Atlantic route, what's the plan to deal with? I mean, now we're limited space even more so.
Yeah, we're continually working with them as far as their phasing plan and scheduling. They just started this phase last week, and that is going to be the this last phase, going into TFR season. So that should be wrapping up. They have a hard stop of that will be paved and no more tearing up until the following spring. So anytime for winter, just normal activity during the winter ramps up, period. There's just a lot more seasonal traffic, but then also compound that with the TFR. So they have a hard stop date sometime beginning of next month that's going to be finished. And then you're going to have an entire ramp open for air traffic. And then I think April timeframe, once things kind of start winding down again for spring and summer, they're going to go back at it and start doing the second half of things. So that's the game plan. And we've been working with them, and they need as much ramp space as they can get, period. So that's their own best interest to finish up and then just call it. It's their contract with the contractor actually has provisions in that you will not work past this date or that type of thing. So that's the current plan. So they are all guns blazing now, just trying to get it done, and hopefully the little bit of weather doesn't hold them up a little bit. Yeah, that's definitely part of the game plan. All right. Well, appreciate it, and you can turn it over to Hannah for the last little bit.
All right, any final questions? Final call? All right, well, if you think of anything, you have my email, so feel free to reach out. You know where to find me. And keep an eye out for an email here soon. Just thanking you guys for coming out, and we'll include some that video from Runway Safe that was mentioned in about 2 minutes. We'll send over a link to that as well. So if you guys don't have any further questions, we want to thank you for coming out, and we look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.